All right. Still alive. Still alive. Throat's a little goofy still. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's one of those bugs where you just wish you would shit or get off the pot. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Lay down all the symptoms and slam me with it. Get on with it. So I can get over this shizzle. Quit dragging it out. Anyway, hope all is well wherever all of you are. It's looking like everybody's all over the world, actually. Now, what's my time today? My time today is 12:51 my time on the other side of the planet from home, which makes it 9:51 p.m. at home on the west coast of Canada-stan. So what do we got? I got a couple mentions. I'm going to start this off with a couple mentions thinking about things. I have a lot of time to think here. Now let's talk about that infrasound thing. All right? That item that's been dictated to us from many people and echoed to us by many more people, that these forest people, whatever you want to call them, use infrasound. Now, I'm giving everybody another angle to look at this, all right? It's just another angle. I'm never right about anything, but I question everything. But being a professional hunter, and that does have a lot to do with a lot here, with the skills that I have acquired, the way I look at things, the way I deal with things, the things I learned from things that don't speak English as I pursue them and survive my own skills. Now, hope that made sense. If there was a human being that could approach me, sit across from me, and flat out tell me, quote, tell me, unquote, that these people utilize infrasound. That's how they're doing it. Now think about this one. My immediate reaction is, well, holy shit, I actually have a human being sitting here across from me telling me accurately with confidence that these beings use infrasound. Now, if there was a human being alive today that could dictate that to me, my brain says, holy shit, if you can tell me that they're using infrasound, then you know a lot about their skills intimately if you can dictate that. So if you know that as fact, you must have a lot of other facts you know about as well. And you can explain to me, telling me. You can tell me how they can disappear. You can tell me that how they can run 60 miles per hour. You can tell me how they can splay their limbs out 90 degrees on both sides of them, raising their bodies a foot off the ground and rip through the forest faster than anything. You can't tell me that you only know about them using infrasound without telling me what else they can do. Am I making any sense, you guys? There isn't a human being alive that can tell me accurately a skill these beings possess without telling me about a second skill, or a third, or a fourth. Picking up what I'm putting down, right? I absolutely question the very first person who dictated to all of us, well, they're using infrasound. I know it because they told me they were and then they showed it to me. Said no human being ever, right? People are guessing. People are trying to come up with answers. That's all it is. Infrasound is just a guess from a simple human being. At this stage of the game, prove me wrong. Also, people have dictated and said that elephants use infrasound to communicate with each other over miles. And lions use infrasound. Same deal. Now, if it's infrasound that these, we'll call it forest people, Sabe, Sasquatch, whatever you want. If it's infrasound they're using to absolutely wreak havoc on us emotionally, then if it's, quote, infrasound, end quote, then someone somewhere should have on video or know somebody who was absolutely emotionally manipulated by an elephant standing on the other side of the field, or a lion standing inside that pen. Agreed? All those people that go on those safaris, you know, those controlled safaris with those fenced hundreds of acres of lions and elephants and everything running around. Why is there no signs up on the fences saying, warning, these lions may decide to use infrasound on you, wreaking absolute emotional havoc on you. Be aware. Said no safari or zoo or animal tour ever. Picking up what I'm putting down? How come there's never ever been a sign anywhere, especially here where we are, where Sarah loves to go and see the elephants? How come there's no warning saying, hey, just so you know, these elephants may decide to direct their infrasound at you, which will absolutely manipulate you emotionally, paralyze you, and possibly bring you down to your knees. There's no signs anywhere of that. Why is that? How come that is? I mean, is there different flavors of infrasound that people come up with? You see what I'm saying? Oh, well, no, it's a different kind of infrasound. Oh, is it? Explain. Well, you know, the elephants and the lions, they got infrasound that they use on each other, but it won't work on us. And then the Sasquatch has a different flavor of infrasound that brings us to our knees and manipulates us emotionally and wreaks terror through our soul. Oh, cool. Oh, I get it. Okay. Oh, and by the way, where did you learn about this? How'd you find that out, that Sasquatch have a different flavor infrasound than elephants and lions, making it so that elephants and lions cannot emotionally wreck us with their infrasound? See what I mean? There you go. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but at this stage of the game, and actually myself personally, I've never taken the bait on the infrasound dictation from people. Will I ever? I think I closed my case on that subject just now, didn't I? Pick up what I'm putting down, you guys. I've never seen a warning. Warning, there may be infrasound flipping around uncontrollably at this zoo while you tour it. Said no zoo ever. Now, let's get into hearing from the people, shall we? All the people, not just one. Because there is no authority here. There is no one person with any type of authority that we need to bow down to and be silent for. We're all here together. We're all equal, and we're all helping each other get our skills back, get truth in our face, and pass it down to our children, our family, and our friends and our coworkers, and anybody who wants to hear. Now, there's no title in this email. It just starts off saying, Steve, my name is Alan Kunish. Kunish. Alan, I hope I nailed your last name in one of those versions. I live in Maine. Sir, you may never read this, but I thought I would try. Sir, you are a fantastic person. I think this world needs to mold you for people to follow. When they make men, I hope you and Sarah live long? All right, a bit of a typo, but I get it. Thank you for the kind words. I was in my truck about 4 years old on the backwoods, on the back roads, Maine. It was 5 p.m. in the morning. I was heading to see my mother, and step up there wasn't? All right, we got typos, you guys. Here we go. Gonna try to make sense of it. I swear, something flew over my head. I believe it was a spaceship. I watched it for 3 minutes. When it did it, it went over near some very large chicken barns. And now I'm on the chicken barns. I swear I saw something running away bipedal. I'm not saying this thing. I was in Leophasia. But I am saying they are definitely, I told my family and other people, they all look at me. I'm like, I'm just smoking my lunch, but I promise it's the truth 100%. Hey, Steve, thanks for everything you do and all your knowledge. You're definitely a credit to humanity. All right, so you get a bunch of typos in there, but from what I think you're throwing down is you're at some large chicken barn somewhere, saw some kind of a craft in the sky, and was accompanied as well by a sighting of something huge running away. Gotcha. I got it. I'm picking up what you just threw down. I appreciate the kind words and the share, my man. Man, there is no shortage of people who have seen something in the sky and at the same time seeing one of these upright, hair-covered, human-type beings. Now, what is this? This is a frickin' encyclopedia. I don't know what it is or what it's about. I'm trying to skim through it. I'll skim through it after to make sure it's worthy, because I'm not sure if it is pertaining to anything here that we talk about. All right, now hold on a minute. Here's another one. I'll get back to that after. I don't want to have you guys sitting here hanging. Something at my fence is the title of this email. Hello, Steve. My name is Wellington Wallace Jr., and I'm from the Bahamas. living in the capital, New Providence, commonly known as Nassau. Before I dive into my story, I want to thank you for the platform you've created, allowing people like me to share these strange encounters. I've been following your videos, listening to the stories others have shared about their experiences with these mysterious beings. Now it's my turn to add my own. About a background. I'm a 43-year-old former corrections officer, and in my line of work, I've encountered fear before, but nothing like what I experienced that night. It was 2018, a typical weekday. My wife and I had just put our daughters to bed, and she had dozed off on the couch. It was around 9:30 in the evening when I decided to step outside. Our dog needed to be left out, and I figured it'd be a good time to enjoy a cigar and unwind. And as I settled into my usual spot, I opened YouTube on my phone, letting the calmness of the night surround me. But it didn't last long. Our dog, who had wandered off, suddenly returned to the door, acting strange, and he stood there staring at me as if wanting to get back inside. So I let him in. But something in me told me to stay outside a little longer. I sat down, propped my feet up on the chair across from me, and just breathed in the night air. Behind my house is this large, overgrown piece of property that I have to clear every few weeks. The bushes had crept right up to my fence, again, thick and wild. And suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the middle of the property. The sound was unmistakable. Something big was out there, crashing through the bushes. And at first I couldn't process what was happening, but the noise grew louder, closer, and it sounded like something massive was running straight toward me. I could feel the vibrations under my feet, as if the earth itself was trembling. And just as I braced myself, thinking this thing was about to plow right through the fence, it stopped, dead in its tracks, just on the edge of where the darkness met the light from my backyard, and I couldn't see it, but I could hear it. Deep, labored breathing, as though it was trying to catch my scent. My body froze, paralyzed by fear. I've never felt anything like it before. It was as if time had slowed, and all I could hear was this thing breathing and the pounding of my heart. For what felt like an eternity, I stood there, locked in place. My mind raced, but my body wouldn't respond. Then, without warning, everything went silent. But the silence wasn't comforting. It was the kind of quiet that made the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. The kind that made you feel like something was watching you, waiting. A sense of impending doom washed over me, and I knew I had to act. My family was inside. My wife and children and I couldn't let whatever was out there get any closer. A sense of impending doom washed over me, and I knew I had to act. My family was inside, my wife and children, and I couldn't let whatever was out there get any closer. Slowly, I forced myself to move. One leg, then the other. I stood up and turned toward the fence, straining my eyes to see anything in the dark, but all I could feel was its presence. Something powerful, something malevolent. The door was only a few feet away, but it felt like a mile. I knew I could just get inside. I knew if I could just get inside, I'd have a chance. So I ran, as fast as I could. Slammed the door behind me and locked it. My heart was racing, adrenaline surging through my frickin' veins. I grabbed my shotgun and sat downstairs, waiting for the morning light to break through, and I couldn't sleep. I told my wife about it and a few others, but most of them brushed it off, saying it was probably just a big dog. But Steve, this is no dog. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. Respectfully, Wellington Wallace Jr. Mr. Wellington Wallace, welcome to the club, my friend. You know what it was. We all know what it was at this stage of the game, don't we? Keep us updated. What else might go on around there? Hopefully nothing that trashes your quality of life. You know what I mean? Keep us updated if you got anything else that comes down the pipe. Appreciate you, man. This next email is titled South African Story. Hi, Steve. My name is Greg, and I'm a 49-year-old serving South African police officer of sober habits. The following is a story of what happened to me a few years ago, around 2018. And I also shared this with Dave P. I'm an avid hiker and enjoy exploring the mountain range in my province, state of KwaZulu-Natal. The Drakensberg, Dragon's Mountain, or in the native language, the Barrier of Spears. The native First Nations of the area, are a rather superstitious lot with tales most Europeans disregard as fantasy. Yeah, that's our downfall right there, right? We have many legends, and I have a few stories that hike mates have shared with me. But I'll not share a hearsay testimonial, simply what I know happened to me. You know what? If you got stories for your buddies, I don't mind hearing that shit either, man. A mate of mine and I decided to spend a night in a cave located in the valley just south of the main road that leads up to Sani Pass to Lesotho. The cave's name is, oh my God, oh, there's a punctuation, thank you, Kalingenwa, but it's spelled Gxalingenwa. The cave's name translates to the place we do not enter. It's more of a deep overhang than a cave. We see people exploring with flame torches, but rather the size of a 3-vehicle garage with stooping headroom around the middle and getting shorter as you reach the rear wall. The entrance to the cave has some very large boulders that have fallen from the cliff above and now sit as a protective wall with a decent gap to walk through. The center of the cave has a stone slab that has fallen from the roof and is now used as a fairly flat and handy table about mid-shin height. The cave rock is a light coyote-colored sandstone and affords great reflection light, even with a few candles lit. When laying in the cave, looking out over the fallen boulder walls, one can see the mountain structure on the other side of the valley from above the trees at the entrance. The cave entrance is up a fairly steep slope and away from the main river. There is, however, a decently flowing waterfall just out and to the left of the cave entrance, great for showers, and dips in the natural pool. The route to the cave is a well-worn trail, often said to be used by smugglers trying to avoid the border post at the base of the mountains. Understandable, as it closes at 1800. And on the day of the hike, we parked our car at the Cobham Ranger Station and set off on the well-posted and well-worn trail around 8 a.m. It was summer, rather warm, and the grass was lush green, about knee length at points, and at points hanging over the trail and making some trip hazards. We hiked up through the valley, crossing the river and filling canteens for the expansive plateau traverse ahead. As the grass was quite long, I started to suffer from a bout of hay fever that messed me up quite bad. But, being the tough dude, I refused the meds and soldiered on. We arrived at the cave around 1600 that afternoon, just as the low-laying rain clouds blew in and started drizzling a steady, heavy mist. I was so tired and suffering from the effects of the hay fever, I set up my sleep mat and bag and started to sleep without even having supper. My friend Dylan sat up right next to me. He was not armed, but I always carry my service pistol, and this time it was in my EDC bag and placed inside my sleeping bag for safety. I fell asleep to the white noise of the waterfall just outside the cave entrance. At around 3 a.m., I awoke and just happened to take a look towards the entrance of the cave, and as I did so, I noticed the roof of the cave around the entrance area seemed to be illuminated as if someone had unlocked their cell phone. I immediately thought we had some smugglers as company trying to make us make use of the cave. I quickly and quietly retrieved my pistol and had it at the ready. I also spider-walked my hand over to Dylan and located his mouth where I covered it and whispered to him that we have uninvited guests. He nodded without saying a word. I did not light up the camp lamp, candle, or torch, so as to not give my position away, and did my best to act like a boulder in the cave, almost hoping to lure the smugglers in and then jump scare the buggers. As I lay there watching the illuminated cave entrance, I could see the foliage on the outside of the boulder wall lighting up as if someone with a red headlamp was sweeping it across the trees. The red light also seemed to pulse on and off like a very slow heartbeat. The light was bright enough for me to make out individual leaves on the trees and see that the drizzle was still present. I sat waiting with a stern conviction that I was about to face off with a number of smugglers, single-handedly, and I'd have to put on my bravest Lone Ranger act. I sat watching and waiting until the main illumination on the cave roof subsided, and the red pulsing light faded away and was replaced by a purple blackness of pre-dawn sky. When dawn broke and I got the opportunity to get out of the bag and investigate, I went looking for any footprints and or a trace of whoever had come and maybe seen or heard or felt. I was waiting for them. And as I went out between the boulder wall, I saw the sand trail was wet and undisturbed. Only the last remnant smudges of my footprints from when I entered the cave were there. There was also a fairly intricate spider's web that spanned the pathway between the trees, and it was undisturbed. I then looked down the valley where the trail leads from, and I saw what looks like shiny silver in the morning light. The grass blades weighed down across the trail with undisturbed dewdrops. I realized that nobody had come up or gone down the trail, and a cold feeling ran over me as I could not explain and come up with a rational explanation of what had happened. The rest of the hike back to the car was uneventful, but both Dylan and myself walked in silence as if mulling over and trying to make sense of what we had seen. When I returned to work and spoke to First Nation colleagues, I opened up and told them what I had seen, and I was immediately informed that I encountered, quote, SPOGO, end quote. SPO, guttural loogie sound, or the spirit slash, so it's OR, so SPO, SPO, guttural loogie sound, or the spirit slash ghost. This spirit is said to manifest in the mist to mislead hikers or individuals and lead them away so that they vanish from the earth. It is said to appear as a red pulsing light, and only those with a fighting spirit or strong gods can withstand its lure. Anyway, that's my story. I saw what I saw, and I was sober as a judge when it happened. I was not even on any hay fever meds. I'd be interested to know if any other hikers in the southern Drakensberg area have had similar experiences. Keep up the good work, Steve. You are appreciated. Regards, Greg. Hey, man, appreciate that, man. Especially from all the way over where you are. Glad to hear you guys are listening from over there. And I have a funny feeling it is going to be possibly, if not the exact same thing as we see over here, is what people are referring to as that floating orb, right? Ball of light. It's been reported as red, yellow, white, blue, bright. Moves like it's thinking. And our indigenous people here have all said too, don't follow it into the woods. Right? Why is that? Why is that? Now, who's next? Appreciate you, man. Keep us updated. Glad you're following. And keep an eye in the comment section below. If somebody else has got some information from there, South Africa, let her rip in the comment section, or you can email me, whatever. Now, here we go. What's this one? Mark this as red. This is titled, Like the Predator / Shade Shifter. Not shape, shade shifter. Hey, Steve, the content you put out is great. The hunting stories are what got me. Thanks for helping get the truth out. All right, man. Appreciate the kind words. I've emailed you previously, and I do realize it was massive. A lot went on that first day. I put eyes on them. And I want to say to the guys that watched them change like the Predator in the movie, like a chameleon shade shifting to its environment. Thanks for sharing. It's not a good feeling being told you're crazy for what you've seen. Yeah, only if you give a shit, right? It's only if you give a shit what people think. The second you drop that one, it doesn't feel like anything. But I get it. The end of my day of encountering them, I had a gut feeling that it was following us out of where we'd been hunting. I threw my truck in park, grabbed my rifle, and ran into a trail that cut off the logging road about 200 yards. I got to the end of the trail and I heard a stick break about 10 yards away to the left of me. I went straight to the sound, and there was the stick broken in a footprint of what I determined to be a juvenile. My friend comes in behind me and says, "Holy F, that's a Sasquatch track." I said, yeah, they're here right now. And I gave him my rifle, and I said I was gonna get my camera and the other rifle. By the time I got back, he was white as a ghost, telling me we had to get out of there. Then we heard something on the hillside, and we raised our guns in that direction. And as we did that, a savage roar came from directly behind us. My friend says back to back, and we can't seem to see anything. A flock of chickadees blast into the trees, and my bro says to me, they're in the trees. He was over it. He said he was going back to the truck and started leaving in a panic. And I'll add, not a man easily to scare. I was reluctant to leave. I wanted to see it again. And as I began to leave, shortly after my bro got onto the trail, I heard a large snap to my right, now on the same hillside. I turned, raised my rifle, and I see it again, clear as day. And no sooner as I raised the rifle, I lowered it. It had its eyes locked, and it seemed like it lasted forever, but say 5 seconds. Then it began to change colors, shade shifting 4 times until it totally matched the forest, and during this I could still see its goldish eyes, never taking my eyes off of them until it just disappeared. It was like watching the Predator in real life, and I was just standing there thinking, what the hell did I just witness? I've tried to wrap my head around it for years. My advice? Get right back in the bush. They have the ultimate camouflage, so all senses on at all times now. Thanks, Steve, and thanks for sharing. There you go. Another person sharing that they saw something disappear right in front of them. And not the only one. Right? Not the only one. How many times something like that's been reported in the past, and those past douchebags hid those testimonies? Why did they do that? Why did they hide those testimonies from all of us for so long? Why? Who gives a shit? Move it along, right? Kick them to the curb. The truth's coming out now. This is titled Experiences. Appreciate that share, man. Avoid using my name, please, for a reason I can't discuss. Okie dokie, I gotcha. Hi, Steve. Been watching your channel for a while now, and I appreciate you getting the stories out there. I just wanted to mention a couple of my own for the hell of it. Though I have yet to see one, there were some times I sensed they were nearby. Back in the early 80s, my family and I lived on the edge of the Ozark National Forest, way out in the sticks. Awesome hunting and fishing out there. My brother and I would often go exploring the countryside up some random logging road to the middle of nowhere, and came upon a swamp on top of one of the local small mountains around there. The swamp had 2 big cypress trees that looked like a Hershey kiss at the trunk. That place was the only place around that had those kinds of trees, and a bunch of them. Once we found that spot, we parked the old car we had and got out to explore on foot. I couldn't wait to get off into the middle of all that and see what was there, until I stepped upon the edge of that area. When I got close to that first tree, closest to the field beside it, I immediately sensed that I did not belong there and something was watching us. I couldn't see anything out of the norm, so I stepped in a little further to the other side of the tree, and that dreadful feeling increased tenfold. A tight circle around that tree was all I cared... What? A tight circle around that tree was all I cared to do after that feeling hit me. My brother went in a little further, maybe 30 yards, but that was it, since I would go any further. He, my stepdad, and his brother went in there and fished the swamp one time after that and just caught a couple of grinnell bowfin. And that was that. Every time I tried to get close to that place, that dread would hit me, and again I stayed out. I had a much better sense and awareness when I was young. Sometimes it even gave me a heads up before something bad happened. Almost in a remote viewing sense, but as I got older, that faded. I wish I had it back. Once, it may have saved me from a black bear attack. The family all went up to a remote area along a major creek that ran out of M.O. into A.R., so that's Missouri and Arkansas, for a day trip of fishing and picnicking, and I decided to wade my way downstream to fish and explore some. I randomly waded and walked to the creek bank, thoroughly checking everything out as I went, but the further I went down that creek, the more uneasy I felt, until I had to turn back and stayed in the water the whole way back, keeping an eye on this small island that worried me. I told my stepdad what I felt down there, like something was watching me. So he took off down that way to check it out. Being an old country boy and a cop, he was curious too, and shortly came back and told me to come with him. We went back down there, and you could see where I'd stepped out of the water onto the bank all along my trek, but when we got close to the island, suddenly big-ass bear tracks appeared on top of and beside some of my prints. They would follow straight behind mine and then go into the bush just to come back out occasionally until we got to the spot. I turned around and came back. I was glad my senses were working good that day. That was long ago, but more recently in the small patch of woods I used to deer and squirrel hunt, I would often get that weird feeling of something around again. The woods are small, about 25 acres, surrounded by farm field, but about a mile from a major creek with thick woods all around it for miles. Being on disability, it was the perfect spot for me. I could park my truck close by and had an easy walk to my blind. It was only when I killed a deer did I need to call for help. I hunted there for about 6 years and killed 1 to 3 deer every year there. It had ravines, small hills, and a natural watershed pond on the west side of it, and all the perfect cover and food sources for deer. It was like a small oasis for them in the middle of all those farm fields. And that being said, I also lost 5 deer that I shot there. I know were bad hits. 2 I know were bad hits, and they ran across a neighboring property, and I wouldn't trespass to find them, but 3 were perfect hits. Yet I still lost them, somehow. I know every square inch of that spot, and I would track those deer and usually found where they laid down and bled heavily. Big puddles of blood, full of bubbles and such. Then the trail went dry, and the deer were gone. I'd search 4 to 5 hours looking through the thickest stuff, and I could find, just in case, nothing. Even brought my son-in-law's dog out to look, and still nothing. Being such a small place, I could hear whenever the local farmers would be in the field tending to his cattle quite easily. But there were many times I would not hear him, and I would hear the proverbial knock of wood on wood nearby. Usually it was just 2 hard knocks and a long pause, and may or may not hear it again. Once while there in my blind, my legs and back began to hurt, something bad. Oh, sorry. So I had to get out and stand up for a few minutes to ease that some. When I stepped out and stood up, I heard a loud honk, sort of. Then the crashing of brush and small saplings being mowed down by what sounded like a crazed rhinoceros leaving the scene of a crime. I saw nothing, and had never heard a buck blow that loud with a pitch almost like a train horn, but not quite that loud, but was easily as loud as my truck horn. I'm still not sure if that was the local Big Daddy buck that sometimes came in there and I spooked him bad, or if it was something else. He did have a knack being staying hidden when nearby that honk, He did have a knack for, I'm going to add some words in here, for staying hidden when nearby, but that honk still bugs me. It was almost scream-like. Every time I lost another deer, I'd kick my buddy and tell him Bigfoot or the aliens got the damn thing. I was beginning to see that as a serious statement after 5 deer in 5 years. I just wish my disability hadn't stopped me from still hunting there. Other than that, I have heard the occasional weird howl at night around the area, but usually dismissed it as one of the big predator birds, bobcat or coywolf, but sometimes it just doesn't sound quite right, And I still hear knocks from time to time coming from that creek area. When I hear that in the day, I figured it's a duck hunter working his blind. But at night? Not so sure about that. Anyway, thanks for the outlet. I'm sure it's helped many much more than I. I really don't concern myself with whether there's something out there or not. I know there is, and I'm not afraid or bothered by it one bit. It's all just a natural thing to me that I have to live with. I just wish people could see all the different UFOs I've seen since my childhood that also don't bother me, but that's a whole lot of other stories. I don't bother trying to catch those on film either because I know they are there, and I've always known. And either someone else knows that and sees it as the way things just are, or they are scared and don't want to know, so why bother with filming? Reality is a real trip that many just don't quite get or understand, and sometimes denial is a hell of a force to reckon with for some folks. Anyway, thanks. And there you go. Welcome to the club. You know what it is, right? You know what it is. Sucks you're losing your game to that, though. That really sucks. Anyway. Appreciate that email, my man. Keep us updated. Anyway, that should do for today, I think. I think I might go out there and hit a little more sun, maybe. And then carry on with the day. Hopefully get over the stupid bug that's made a nest in my damn throat. But anyway, side note though, quick thought. You know, all those people out there's a lot of people who claim to have had what you might want to call a relationship with these people, these forest people, which I do believe. I do believe them. But I got a question though, if anybody knows. I mean, we've got a lot of people interacting with them, a lot of people seeing them all the time, a lot of people claim to communicate with them. But have we ever heard about one human being that said, hey, can I come and hang out with you guys for a week? Right? Have we? Do you guys know of anybody who's been in communication with these people, these beings, and actually said, you know, hey, I'm going to go grab my backpack and my shit that I need, and I'm going to come and hang out with you guys for at least a week. What do you say? Anybody knows something like that happening? And we know of the guy that was kidnapped in BC. He was investigated from one end to the other, passed every single lie detector test they had, and I believe he was taken. What else? There's some native, they call it folklore. I think it's probably more like history passed down about women gone missing, brought back when they were sick with their eyes sealed with pitch, and brought back to their communities pregnant at times. I believe that happened. But have we had anybody recently, I don't know, maybe the last 50 years, who's been allegedly in communication with these beings, made friends with them, and were allowed to go hang with them? Anybody know anything like that going on? Let me know, or throw it down in the comment section below. I wouldn't mind hearing about that, because I just thought about I don't know when I thought about it, but I thought about it. I'm like, hey, there's a lot of friendly communication going on around the planet, allegedly. Has anybody actually gone and hung out? Let's see. Talk to you guys later. Share my story at howtohunt.com.